Hey, geometry students. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about finding the perimeters and areas of regular polygons. Now, just to review, a regular polygon is a polygon that has all of the sides and all of the angles congruent to each other. And that's important because it means that the polygon has to be convex, and we can count on the polygon having the same properties all around. We're going to see why that's important in this lesson. Now, in order to understand how to find the perimeter and area, there's a few terms we need. First of all, we need to know what the center of a regular polygon is. And again, because the polygon is the same all around, we can identify the center as the point that's the same distance away from all of the vertices. So over here, I have a picture of a polygon. You'll see that the center point is the same distance away from each vertex of the polygon, and all of the angles and all of the side lengths are exactly the same. That's why this is a regular polygon. The central angle is the angle that has the vertex at the center and that passes through two consecutive vertices. So this would be one central angle. Now, here's an important thing. A polygon is going to have as many central angles as it has sides. So this is a pentagon. A pentagon is going to have 5 different central angles that you can draw. Hexagon has 6. Nonagon has 9. Okay, so however many sides there are, that's how many central angles you can draw. And then the most important term, apothum. Apothum is an animal that playeth dead. Oh, just kidding. Apothum is the perpendicular distance from the center to one of the sides. Here is an apothum for our pentagon. Okay, now let's talk about the area of this polygon. Now you'll notice that a polygon is made up of a certain number of isosceles triangles, not equilateral triangles, not necessarily, although a hexagon is made of equilateral triangles. Most regular pentagons are just isosceles triangles. That means that these two sides are the same, and they're going to have a different base. Okay. Now remember, the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height. Let's just go ahead and write out that formula, but we're going to do it in relation to our polygons that we're working with. So the area of a polygon is, or of a triangle, is 1/2 times the base. Well, what is the base of this triangle? The base is actually just the side length, right? And then the height of this triangle, well, do you see that this apothum is actually the height of the triangle that's made with the central angle? So I'm just going to write A for my height. All right, now, one other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to note I'm working with a polygon here, okay? And a polygon isn't just going to have one of these triangles. Do you notice that a polygon is just made up of multiples of these triangles around the central angle? How many triangles are there going to be? As many as there are sides. So this one is 5 of these triangles, 5 central angles, 5 triangles. So what am I going to do? Well, I could just multiply this times the number of sides, and that gives me the area of the whole polygon because it's going to be the total number of triangles. So, 1/2 the side length times the apothum is the area of one triangle. If I multiply that by how many triangles there are, that gives me the area of the whole polygon. But wait, Johnny, there's more. Uh, the next thing that I can do, if I have the number of sides times the side length, which is the base of our triangle, the number of sides times our side length is just the perimeter of the polygon. And that's where we want to get. We can calculate the area of a regular polygon by taking 1/2 times the apothum times the perimeter. Lowercase a is the apothum length, okay, times the perimeter. Now, here's the one tricky thing about this is sometimes instead of being given the apothum, you're given the distance from the center point to one of the vertices. And then you're going to have to use a trick we learned with equilateral triangles where you can break it down into two right angles halfway across a side length, okay? Two right angles, and then use the Pythagorean theorem to find the unknown side. Sometimes you're going to have to do that. We'll see if we have to do that today. Let's go ahead and work some practice problems and put what we just learned into practice. And I'm just going to say, as I look through here, it looks like we're given all of the apothem lengths in all of these. That's handy because it can be a little difficult to find the apothem. Usually you have to drive around in the country to find apothem. All right, let's do letter A. Let's do letter A. The perimeter of this octagon is going to be, well, it's an octagon, so there's 8 sides times the length of one side, 32, is going to give me the perimeter. 8 times 30 is 240. 8 times 2 is 16. Add those together, I get 256 yards. That's going to be my perimeter. Let's just make sure we did that right. Where did I hide that answer? There we go. All right. Letter B. Use the area formula for a regular polygon. By the way, should mention this only works for regular polygons. To find the area of this pentagon. All right, so how am I going to do it? 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter, which is going to be 5 times 19. All right, so it's a 5-sided shape. One of my sides is 19. So to get the whole perimeter, I have to take 5 times 19 times the apothem times 1/2. You have to remember that 1/2 out front. That's easy to forget. All right. This one, we're going to use a calculator for it. 1/2, 13 times 5 times 19. And 617.5. And this is going to be feet squared because we are dealing with an area. All right. We'll see if we did that one right. So the answer to that one was 617.5. Find the area of this hexagon. Oh boy. Okay. Hey, here is one where I'm not given the apothem length. I was mistaken. I'm not given the length of all the apothems. So how am I going to figure that out? Well, I am going to bring in a right triangle. Let's call in a right triangle to help us. And we're going to say that this right triangle is going to be drawn right here, okay? Now, I'm just going to draw the right triangle. We're going to bring it out, and we're going to blow it up a little bit so that we can see a little more of this right triangle. Hey, what are the lengths of my right triangle? Well, I know that this side length here has to be 12. So I'm going to label that. This is going to be 12 feet. How do I know it's 12 feet? Because the apothem is going to be perpendicular to the side, and it's actually going to bisect the side into 2 equal parts. And each side length is 24, so that means that this is going to be 24. Now, here's the other thing. This is one of those special types of figures that I mentioned before. The only type of figure that has central angles that are or central triangles, I guess, that are all equilateral triangles, because this is a hexagon. So because I know this is a hexagon, um, I know that each of these triangles is equilateral. Those central angle triangles are equilateral. So that means if they're all equilateral, let's take a look at this one up here. If this is 24 feet, this would be 24 feet, and this would be 24 feet. So the distance from a center to a vertex in this particular hexagon, this only works for hexagons, okay, folks? Don't try this for other types of figures. 24 feet. Hey, if I know that one side is 24 and one side is 12, do I know the third side? I could use the Pythagorean theorem, but I also know that when I split an equilateral triangle in half, I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, which means it's going to have a 1, 2, square root of 3, ratio. So here, let me bring in my square root symbol, because this side is going to be 12 times the square root of 3 of 3. Where did r come from? 3 feet. All right, so according to my formula, I need to do 1/2 times the apothem. In this case, it's 12 square root of 3 times the perimeter, which is going to be 24 times 6. And that is going to be the formula we need to solve. Now, it wouldn't be so hard if I just had two of these numbers multiplied together, but all this is going to be a pretty big number. So I'm going to do this. We're going to keep this in simplified radical form. So I'm going to leave the square root of 3 alone as a square root of 3. But then here, let's solve the rest of this. This is going to be 0.5 times 12 times 24 times 6 times 12 times 24 times 6. When I multiply all of the numbers that are outside of the square root together, I get 864. So this is going to be 864 times the square root of 3. Okay, so I just multiplied everything outside of the square root of 3. I should have 864 square roots of 3 as my answer, and that is the correct answer over here.